Have you ever heard of Atlantis, the mythical sunken city that the Greek philosopher Plato claimed was located somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean? Imagine that since that time, everything has been done to search and try to locate this lost land. More than that, we even tried to confirm or deny the theory of the existence of Atlantis. Now, even if some people affirm that Atlantis was born only in Plato's imagination, others have estimated a long time ago that the city did exist and that it was necessary to base ourselves on some clues left by Plato to find it. This clearly means that we may never be able to prove whether or not Atlantis ever existed in the past. This is a mystery that man will probably never be able to solve, unfortunately. But Atlantis is not the only unsolved mystery. There are many other enigmas that are still unanswered. The ITOKAWA asteroid. The formation of the solar system, planets, and celestial bodies in general has long been a mystery to scientists. But lately, a part of this mystery has finally been pierced. Well, here's some exciting news. Do you know how the scientists did it? And especially on what they based themselves to arrive at interesting results? Here's the answer. See that strange-shaped object that looks like a peanut? It's an asteroid, and its name is ITOKAWA. It was named after the pioneer of Japanese astronautics, ITOKAWA. But it is not its name that has given astronomers answers. The Japanese space probe Hayabusa had collected dust samples from the surface of this asteroid. Thanks to the studies that were subsequently carried out on this dust, and with the help of the technologies that were used, scientists realized that the ITOKAWA asteroid had various densities in its different parts. In other words, it was not a single body, but two or perhaps several small asteroid bodies that probably resulted from collisions in space, and which would have agglomerated to form the ITOKAWA asteroid. This would allow scientists to better understand the formation of the solar system. Tom DeLonge, another researcher on extraterrestrials. As you may know, there is a taboo subject, so to speak, which has never ceased to fascinate those who are interested in it, and others too. Politicians, soldiers, and even stars like the American singer and guitarist Tom DeLonge have made this subject their hobby. DeLonge even went so far as to leave music behind to found a company dedicated to in-depth research in this field. By the way, do you know what we're talking about? UFOs and aliens. And how? This subject has always been the subject of much ink and thousands of documentaries on the existence or not of extraterrestrials. Tom DeLonge, for example, claims to have had a growing interest in this subject, which led him to do a lot of research while he was on tour. For him, people need to take it seriously, especially since there are documents and evidence about it. Testimonies, videos, observations, everything has been carefully studied to say whether or not extraterrestrials really exist. But for the moment, the mystery is still there. Will Tom DeLonge and the other researchers arrive one day at conclusive results? Discovery of a huge Mayan city under the jungle in Guatemala. The Maya are considered as one of the greatest civilizations that ever existed. Strongly present on a good part of Central America, they are also the subject of research of numerous experts and scientists who are always in search of ruins and vestiges related to this civilization. However, a few years ago, these people made an extremely interesting discovery. Indeed, thanks to the use of a technique of cartography and aerial remote sensing of high technology called LIDAR, the researchers fell on Maya lands which were hidden and perfectly preserved by a dense jungle in the region of Petén, in the north of Guatemala. Well, for a discovery, it is well won. A huge area of 2,100 kilometers square with its fields and its agricultural lands, its houses, its pyramids, and many other buildings were there, well hidden under the jungle. Which lets understand that there were much more Maya than one believed. Isn't it marvelous? However, you should know that without technology, scientists might never have succeeded in making this archaeological discovery of great importance. Although they still have to carry out other researchers on other zones. Who knows? They could perhaps find new surprises on other lands of America, or even elsewhere. liquid water on Mars. For a few years now, there has been talk of an unusual destination to which many volunteers would have agreed to go, with a strong probability of never returning. Do you know what destination I'm talking about? The planet Mars, of course. Some people would even be very impatient to embark for the red planet and to finally realize their dream. But for this dream to be realized, it must first be proven that life can be possible on the red planet. Of course, no one will be able to embark for Mars if we are not absolutely certain to be able to ensure optimal living conditions for the future Martians. Besides, scientists have been looking for this evidence, and guess what? They finally found something extremely important using a device called a laser altimeter. Traces of liquid water were detected under the ice cap at the south pole of Mars. The icing on the cake is that the results found by these scientists only confirmed the results of a previous research that had been conducted by radar. What good news! Everyone knows that water is an indispensable element and that no one can live without it. Of course, all this is very interesting, but it remains to be seen whether this would be enough for Earthlings to be able to live on Mars one day. Slender Man. Take a good look at this picture and tell me what you see. Did you notice the figure standing by a tree behind the girl? That is a very disturbing image. What do you think this person is? At first glance, it looks like a tall, thin man who is watching this poor girl and probably wants to assault her. This photo has certainly confused a lot of people on the internet, and you still don't know who this man is, do you? But don't worry, because we finally identified him. However, it turned out that it was not a person, but a monster born from the internet. It is a fictional character with a wiry humanoid figure, with long limbs and no face, who hides and waits for you quietly in a forest or an abandoned place. His name, like all the scary monsters that were born from tales and legends or TV series and that haunted our nights, Slender Man has also marked the young internet users. Some of them would even be scared to death at the idea of meeting this man on their way one day. Scientists have discovered that the soul does not die. Do you know where the soul goes when you die? This question is asked by many people, including some scientists who have been trying for a very long time to find out the path of the soul after death. But it turns out that we have discovered the answer today. Two scientists specialized in quantum physics have indeed presented a theory according to which the soul does not die, contrary to what many people think, but it moves and goes far, far away from the body after death. The Green Children of Woolpit. What is the story you read as a child that made the biggest impression on you? Each of us may have an answer to this question, but do you know? Many tales and stories were written or inspired by real events and later become legends. There are several popular legends, like this English story which dates from the 12th century and is still talked about today. It is the story of two children, a little boy and a little girl, who appeared in the English village of Woolpit. To the astonishment of the villagers, these children, who were brother and sister, had green faces, spoke a strange language, and did not eat normal food like other humans. The two children were the subject of stories written probably by witnesses, and several centuries later, the people living in Woolpit are very familiar with the legend of these two green children. However, it is impossible for them to confirm whether they really existed, so the story will remain a mystery forever. The shape of the Earth. While you are watching this video, are you sure you are in perfect balance? That's a question you might ask. However, you should know that this question is not a futile one. On the contrary, it refers to another very important question that people have often asked themselves since the beginning of time. Now you know all about it. Yes, it was indeed a question that has often left people perplexed for many centuries. But what is this thing that is so important that people wanted to know? Well, everyone wanted to know if the Earth was really flat. Of course, today we know the answer to this question for our greatest happiness, but know that this was not the case a long time ago. Now, even if we know perfectly well that the Earth is round, Which seems clear and obvious when we see it from far away in space, you should know that our dear blue planet has rather an ellipsoidal shape. It's hard to believe, but it's true. On the other hand, this shape often tends to change due to the different phenomena that our planet experiences, such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and many other phenomena and natural disasters. That's good to know. Green light in the fireworks galaxy. A few years ago, a NASA observatory detected a very unusual phenomenon. Take a good look at this picture to know what I'm talking about. What do you think it is? But above all, what does this green spot that appears clearly on the image represent? Before giving you an answer, you should know that this image, which was captured and recorded by NASA in 2019, is that of the galaxy NGC 6946 or Fireworks Galaxy. A galaxy that is located at a distance of about 22.5 million light-years from us. As for that green spot near the center of the galaxy, well, it was identified as a flash of X-rays that appeared and then disappeared after only about 10 days. Scientists linked this strange phenomenon to the fall of some matter into a black hole, which would then have given the flash. However, as they were not sure of anything, these experts started to look for the different possible causes that could be behind the appearance of this green flash, hoping to find its origin and to solve the mystery once and for all. Mystery or not, the appearance of the green spot at the level of the fireworks galaxy represents a great discovery for the researchers. Indeed, they will finally be able to conduct more in-depth research to try to understand what happens when matter falls into a black hole, or a neutron star, for example. An underground ocean. Do you know all the oceans that exist on our planet? Whatever your answer, it will not be complete. Here's why. After a good few decades of research, scientists have just made an incredible discovery that will refresh your information about seas and oceans. Listen up then. At a depth of 660 kilometers under the Earth's crust hides an enormous reservoir of water that would constitute a full-fledged ocean. You have understood well. It is, if we dare say, an underground ocean. More than that, this quantity of water is greater than that which is on the surface of the Earth. Indeed, this water would be equivalent to almost 3 times the volume of the oceans. This means that if it were to rise to the surface, it could cover everything, leaving only the tops of the mountains to emerge. But don't worry, this underground water is trapped in a layer of rock called ringwoodite. Let's hope it doesn't come out one day and swallow everything. The geoglyphs of the Amazonian forest. It has always been thought that the Amazon rainforest remained untouched until the arrival of Europeans on the South American continent. Well, the Amazon rainforest has always been occupied and preserved by the natives, and at that time the trees were much better protected, unlike today. Unfortunately, the lung of the earth has experienced deforestation in recent years, but this deforestation has led to a mysterious discovery that has baffled scientists. It must be said that it happened in a place where we least expected to see such a thing. By the way, do you know what I'm talking about? Look, you see these circles traced on the forest floor? They are geoglyphs, like the famous Nazca geoglyphs in Peru. Scientists have discovered more than 550 of them dating back thousands of years. But who is at the origin of these geometrical forms, and to what did they serve? These are the questions that the scientists asked themselves for a long time, without managing, however, to find definitive answers. Nevertheless, this discovery proves that the Amazonian forest had finally been touched by the natives, long before the arrival of the Europeans on the continent. The mystery of the PATOMSKY crater. Imagine you are walking somewhere in the nature and you come across something strange that you have never seen before, and you don't know anything about it. This is what happened to a geologist named Vadim Kolpakov in 1949 in the Irkutsk region of southeast Siberia. The Russian geologist, who was probably on a mission and would have come there to explore the area, came across a rock formation that he had never seen in his life and never heard of before. You'd like to see that too, wouldn't you? Then look at these pictures. Well, it was a huge mound of limestone 40 meters high with, on its surface, a crater surmounted by another small mound. This was the beginning of a long story of endless mysteries that would follow this discovery, because no one knew the origin of this formation that was named PATOMSKY crater, after a river that flowed nearby. It is a volcano, a meteorite impact, or rather a structure hiding a nuclear power plant, as many theories have suggested. All that is known is that the PATOMSKY crater was probably formed 250 years ago, according to the age of the trees growing at its level. However, no one knows yet how it could be there. We hope that the answer will be found soon. A door on Mars. Did you know that on the planet Mars, we could find things that we have here on Earth? The proof is in an image that made the rounds on the web and social networks not long ago. This image was taken by the Mars Geological Exploration rover Curiosity on May 7, 2022. And the least we can say is that it really raises curiosity. Here it is. According to specialists in the field, this door is only the result of the wind. But for other people, especially those interested in paranormal phenomena, it is indeed a door that could lead to aliens living on Mars. As for the more realistic, well, they will simply lean towards an optical illusion. Who to believe then? The lake with skeletons in India. In India, there is a particularly famous lake nestled between 3 Himalayan mountains. It is a Lake Rukpund, a lake that is anything but ordinary. Even the Indian government has described it as a mysterious lake. But why is it so strange? Do you want to know what makes this remote lake so special? Then take a look. Lake Rukpund contains hundreds of human skeletons. These skeletons have been in the lake for a very long time. The lake remains frozen for a good part of the year and only becomes visible when the snow melts. This macabre spectacle was first discovered by a British ranger in 1942. Since then, the mystery of Rukpund Lake has prompted scientists around the world to investigate the identity of these people, all of whom are believed to be adults, the cause of their deaths, and what brought them to the lake, among other things. Some have claimed that they were all members of one group and supposedly died in a single disaster centuries ago. Others have suggested that they were Indian soldiers who died on their way across the Himalayas, while another theory has suggested that this lake was chosen as a burial ground for victims of some epidemic. Almost all of these theories were dismissed out of hand when a new study estimated that the dead belonged to people from 2 different groups, including Europeans. Nothing is conclusive yet, however, and researchers hope to find answers to this long-standing mystery. The Curse of Tutankhamun. Do you know Tutankhamun? He was a young pharaoh of ancient Egypt who died at the age of 18 and, like all his predecessors, lay in a sarcophagus inside a burial chamber filled with riches. But there is a story you may not know about this young pharaoh. A story that has been much talked about, especially after the discovery of his tomb by the British archaeologist Howard Carter. The latter had found the tomb of Tutankhamun at the end of 1922, and surprisingly, it was the first time that a pharaoh's tomb was found almost completely intact, while the others were often looted. But this is not the most important point. The story will start after this discovery. Indeed, several people having penetrated in his tomb, of which visitors, members of the team of Howard Carter, and this last himself will find the death during the following years, in strange circumstances or in a violent way. This story, surrounded by mystery, will become known as the Curse of Tutankhamun. To this day, no one has the answer to this mystery. What if the death of all these people who died in strange circumstances was a mere coincidence? The fireballs of the Mekong River. If one day you go to Thailand, you will probably hear about the Mekong River. This river is very famous in the country, but also in the whole world. But not only for being one of the most important rivers of Asia. Indeed, the Mekong River contains an absolute mystery because of an unexplainable phenomenon. What is it? The appearance of fireballs that seem to come straight out of the water. Every year, usually between the end of October and the beginning of November, The river makes several firebolts rise up to the sky, creating a magical spectacle. Look! However, if the people who are lucky enough to be present there enjoy this magical show, they are still confused by the mystery that surrounds this lake. Moreover, many hypotheses have been raised on this subject, among which is the possibility that methane plays a role in the appearance of these fireballs, while another theory suggests that the phenomenon takes place when the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun are aligned. Nothing is certain, however. The mystery of the green icebergs of Antarctica. What color do you think icebergs are? White or blue? You will answer me without hesitation, but did you know that some icebergs can be of another color? Look at these pictures, for example. Incredible! Yes, there is also green icebergs. These emerald green icebergs have been seen near certain areas of Antarctica, and naturally, this has baffled scientists and glaciologists for several decades because no one knew where this atypical color came from. But it seems that an answer may have been found recently. Indeed, after having carried out analysis on a green iceberg sample, scientists discovered that areas of Antarctic ice contained large quantities of iron, which gives the iceberg its beautiful emerald color. This one mystery solved, or almost. The disappearance of flight MH370. The history of aviation has seen many incidents such as crashes, disappearances, or aircraft accidents that have made the media react. However, there is one that is still being talked about, even after years. This incident had given rise to many theories, without anything being able to prove what really happened that day. You have guessed which incident I'm talking about, haven't you? The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. Remember, it was March the 8th, 2014. The plane, which was flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, disappeared from radar while in mid-flight, and since that day it has never been found. This has given a lot of trouble to investigators, journalists, and anyone who has been interested in this case, because no explanation could be found for the disappearance of this plane. While some have pointed the finger at the pilot or co-pilot, others have suggested that the plane may have been hijacked. For the less skeptical, however, an incident occurred on board the plane, preventing it from reaching its destination and causing it to crash. Moreover, some debris found later in some ocean areas, as well as some testimonies, would make this theory plausible. Nevertheless, for each of the theories that have been put forward, there are still many pieces of the puzzle missing to be able to solve the mystery of flight MH370 of Malaysia Airlines one day. The disappearance of this plane will forever remain one of the greatest enigmas in the history of aviation. Hobbit hole. Have you ever seen a hobbit hole in reality? No? Then look at this picture. This is very strange. Would hobbits live among us? Many people like you must have thought the same thing when they saw this picture on the internet. But in reality, it is not a hobbit hole. It is nothing more and nothing less than an artistic work made by the Finnish artist and photographer Antti Laitinen. The latter is known for his works that show landscapes with strange shapes and so real that most people are mistaken when they see these things like this hole, for example. And that's it. The mystery didn't last too long this time, fortunately.